I need to talk about the Ian Gary versus Carlos Prates fight and how upset I am with Carlos's performance, bro. So going into this fight, I was already a fan of the fighting nerds, and honestly, you cannot deny the skills that these guys have in the UFC. You got Caio Borralho possibly fighting Hamza Chimaev for the interim title if the rumors are true that DDP is injured, Carlos Prates becoming a prospect in the welterweight division and just knocking people out in less than 3 rounds, Jan Silva being a menace and having a dominant win on Bryce Mitchell, and last but not least, Mauricio Rufy having a knockout of the year contender on Bobby Green and is basically Conor 2.0 the way he fights. I mean, come on bro, the hype is real with all these guys and they're all undefeated in the UFC. Or at least most of them. Carlos Prates is the first fighting nerd to ever lose out of all 4 of them. This one really hurt, man. Not just because one of the fighting nerds have taken their first loss, but it was because, out of all people, in the entirety of the welterweight division, Carlos just had to lose to Ian Gary? But what exactly happened here? Well, let's go ahead and digest this fight round by round and how the last minute of the fight could have changed the entirety of the fight. Okay, let's do this. So both guys are trying to find their reach with each other and occasionally try to throw some strikes. Prates throws some kicks here and there. Same thing with Ian. Ian throws a head kick. Then Ian tries for a takedown, but to some people's surprise, Carlos ends up stuffing Ian from the takedown and continues on. Ian tries the head kick again, tries for another takedown, but backs out from it quickly. They go at it a bit more, but just then, Carlos slips after trying to land the kick and is now on the ground. Ian tries to throw some strikes as he is on the ground, but doesn't succeed too much. Now the round is over. So pretty much this whole round was these guys trying to find their reach, their distance. But from what I saw, I believe Ian takes this round, since he was more active than Carlos was, and especially how the last few seconds of the round ended. So yeah, round 1 goes to Ian, sadly. Moving on. Ian goes for another takedown, but to no avail. They both give each other some more leg kicks. But then, Ian throws a kick that almost hits Carlos's groin. Then, Ian throws a good right hand. They go to a clinch against the fence. They back off, but then Ian tags Carlos a bit. Gary goes for a takedown, but again, it doesn't work. They awkwardly punch each other at the same time. They clinch against the cage again. They break it up, then Ian throws a good kick to the head, and this time it seems like it really hurts Carlos as he starts backing up from him. He throws some exchanges at him, and that's the end of the round. Ian takes this round again. But if there's one thing that answers our questions regarding to Prates' takedown defense, is that he is genuinely pretty good. We knew that Ian has some decent grappling against his opponents in this fight, and that would have possibly been a disadvantage for Carlos, but Carlos still went out there and stuffed all of Ian's takedowns. But it's not enough for me to say that he won this round. I mean, if anything, he still looks like he's trying to find his reach with Ian, but that's okay. I still have some hope for bro. Alright, moving on to the next round. The third round starts with them throwing some kicks again. Prates throws a nasty kick to the body of Ian. Then Ian responds with this. Ian throws a good jab kick though, until Carlos catches him with a stiff right. Ian tries for another takedown. Carlos misses a head kick. Then out of nowhere, Ian throws a nasty uppercut to Carlos that's got him backing up. At this point in the fight, the commentators are even saying that Carlos needs to do something, man.
Prates needs to respond here. He's getting chewed up.
Yeah, he's getting picked apart right now.
And literally, right after they said that, Carlos finally gets taken down in the fight. They then get back up on their feet eventually. They do some exchanges until Carlos slips for a right hook but ends up getting taken down again. Carlos tries to get back up, but the round is then over. I don't know, bro. Up until this fight, I realized that Carlos needs a finish. I already had it 3-0 for Gary after that round was over, especially landing a good uppercut on him and taking Carlos down twice in this round. And you know you're cooked if the commentary is not even saying good things about you now. But whatever, we move on to the next one. Maybe this time Carlos would do better. After another failed takedown attempt, Carlos throws a good body kick, and then another failed takedown. And then, what comes up next? What do you think happens next for Ian? No, seriously, I want you to think about it, bro. What do you think is going to happen after I unpause this video? Alright, I'm just gonna tell you the answer. It's this one. Carlos tries to get back up, but Ian puts him down again. But Carlos is now out of it the second attempt. Then Carlos throws a good left hand on the head, finally doing some decent damage. But then another takedown attempt and then fails. Carlos starts to walk down Ian and tags him again with another left hand, just for Ian to change the momentum and try to take him down again. I swear, bro, I'm getting tired of saying the word takedown over and over again because of Ian. Maybe Ian learned a thing or two from watching Jose Aldo versus Mario Bautista. What an absolute dumpster fire of a fight that was, by the way. And that's the end of the round. So, okay, for this round, it's kind of tricky to score, at least for me, because you could still say that this round goes to Ian, but personally, if I had to score this just by damage alone, then I think I'm picking Carlos as the winner of this round. Plus, when Ian took Carlos down, it's not like he was throwing some strikes either, and Carlos got up not too long after that. So yeah, I think I'm leaning on Carlos on this one. One thing I noticed though in this round is that when Carlos tags Ian and gets him hurt, he doesn't really keep on pushing to throw some more strikes at him, even though Ian was in trouble. I mean, he tries to, but it doesn't seem like he's pushing hard enough. But hey, maybe this next and final round, he will learn from that and possibly get a finish, right? Right? Before the round starts, they give each other some love. Carlos throws some strikes and lands a good knee at Ian. Another failed takedown happens and they go for a clinch against the cage. Prates lands a good left just before he escapes another takedown. He tries to throw some hooks but ends up flying to the cage. Then something spectacular happens. Ian tries one last takedown attempt, but ooh, how the turntables. Prates ends up reversing it and is now on top of Gary. Then Carlos throws some good hammer fists and even has Gary crawling away from him. Carlos tries to go for more shots as Ian's trying to escape, and after just a few seconds later, boom, he finally did it. Carlos pulls it out from the fire and had enough of Ian bullying him, lands some more hammer strikes, and defeats Ian Gary by TKO. And we all witnessed one of the greatest comebacks ever in the UFC, and we all lived a happily ever after. Is what should have happened, but instead, Carlos lets him get back up on his feet and does nothing for the last 15 seconds of the fight. He didn't even try to push some more strikes or anything, let alone the finish. Carlos tries to take another chance, but it's now too late. The fight is finally over. Why? Why did you do that, bro? Why? I don't understand what the thought process was for Carlos when he let Ian get back up. He literally had it in the bag, bro, but he ruined it. He ruined it for himself. I don't think I've ever watched a fight and I actually started yelling at the TV at that very moment. You would think if you were losing to the majority of the fight, the only thing you gotta do is to knock this guy out. And he could have, but he let it slip from his hands, man. Dare I say that was possibly even a low IQ moment. That was not very fighting nerd of you to do that. Your glasses have now been revoked because of this performance. The fight ends in a decision, and you already know who won.
Unanimous decision, the future!
I mean, it was obvious who won that fight. Carlos had some good performance here and there in the fight. It just wasn't enough to win the entirety of the fight. I'm not even mad that Ian won this fight. If anything, I kind of feel disappointed in Carlos's performance. I mean, seriously, what even happened in that last moments, man? He was just a few strikes away to possibly knocking out Ian on the ground. Why did he stop pounding him, bro? Pause. It's almost as bad as Glover shot a takedown after rocking Yuri on the feet just for him to get submitted right after. Maybe there's that possibility that he gassed out right then and there in the moment and just wanted the fight to be over with, just so he can go back into the locker room and have a quick smoke break from that fight. Speaking of, it is no secret to anybody that Carlos loves to smoke, and I mean really loves to smoke. He even openly stated in an interview with Ariel Helwani that he smokes at least every day.
Are you still smoking cigarettes?
Yeah.
How often?
Nah, bro. Maybe 8 per day, 10,
Really?
7. Yeah.
I genuinely believe that Carlos has huge potential to be one of the top contenders of the welterweight division if he wasn't on performance enhancers. And look, that's cool and all if he wants to smoke that much in a day. That's bro's choice, you know? He's a grown man, he can do what he wants. We ain't stopping him. But this factor alone more than likely costed him the fight, as he even smokes before he goes out there and fights. But then again, he has been smoking since he was a kid. So at that point, it's basically a daily routine for him since then.
Because you don't seem like a nerd. In fact, I believe you've been smoking cigarettes, right? Since you were a little kid.
Yeah.
How old were you when you first smoked a
12,
cigarette?
12 and 13 years old.
Incredible.
He has stated though, he's trying to smoke less to work on himself. If this loss doesn't wake him up to pushing himself to quit smoking, then I don't know what will. So, what did I think about the fight? I think it was pretty decent. Not exactly the result I wanted, but then again, what did we expect? Ian's last fight was against Shafkat, who was literally the number 4 ranked welterweight at the time and is now number 2. And he did okay in that fight too. And it looks like he's improving himself since that fight. I think Carlos will learn from this fight, and not just the smoking, but in terms of his fighting style. I don't think he'll ever make that mistake again where he hurts his opponent and doesn't follow it up or go to the finish like in the last 2 seconds of that fight. Am I still a fan of the fighting nerds? Yes! Am I still a fan of Carlos? Yes! Am I happy about his performance though? No. All I really have to say is, please, Joaquin Buckley, save us! Well, that's it. We've reached the end of the video. I don't know how to end this, so, goodbye.